So what I'm going to do for this one, I'll do a formal intro.
Okay.
And then we'll get right into the book.
Okay.
I liked how the other one started.
Me not knowing we were recording.
No, well, I wanted it to be that way.
Okay.
Because I've talked to you enough where I knew, like, anything you say, anything you talk about is going to be interesting, whatever the fuck it is.
Tell that to my wife.
He's interesting! Hi everyone, this is Ray. Some of you might know me as Tiki With Ray, and today I am in my Tiki bedroom. I have a guest all the way from New Orleans.
New Orleans now.
But you used to live here in Seattle.
Used to live in Seattle, not far from here.
Yeah, Leschi actually, right?
Leschi, yeah. Mount Baker, Leschi.
Yeah, and...
I used to run past here.
used to run past my house.
Yes.
So you were that guy.
Yes.
Matt is a author. And at first you started with your blog, Cocktail Wonk, and that has taken you to a lot of nice places, a lot of cool places,
and a lot of very hot places.
A lot of very hot places. But where it brought you to now is to, well, now you wrote a book. You wrote a book.
I wrote a book
called Minimalist Tiki.
I did.
So, why did you decide that you were going to start a book? Why not just continue the blog?
The short answer is that my wife, Carrie, my lovely wife, Carrie, who's co-authored a book, said, if you don't write this fucking book, somebody else will.
Was that her exact words?
That was her exact words. And that I had been... I had a vision to write a different book, and I had been shopping it around publishers. I had written proposals, and now I had an agent, and I was trying to get this book. Like, I knew I need to write this book, and I will write this book. But I knew I wanted to write this book, and I couldn't get any publisher to, like, commit to it. And they were dumb, because they were not going to let me write the book that I know I needed to be written. But one of them said, if you want to do something else, like maybe a cocktail book, and we'll talk. And then my friend Fred Minnick, who we talked about in the other episode, said, like, you should do a cocktail book. And I'm like, that's not what I want to write. You know, and then my wife said, if you don't write this book, somebody else is going to will, and you're going to be fucking pissed. And I'm like, oh, okay, fine. Let me think about this. Okay. And I fought it, and I fought it, and I fought it. But I realized I had written an article like 4 years ago called Minimalist Tiki. And the idea was, like, rather than let's buy a bunch of things and try to make tiki drinks, and, like, you must need pineapple juice, you must need this rum and that rum, and then, like, buying all the shit and still not being able to make anything. I'm like, wait. You know, coming from a science background and a computer background and statistics, I'm like, we can look at these recipes and figure out what's actually essential. We're going to we're going to use statistics. We're going to take a set of recipes, some number of classic recipes, and we're going to go through them all and look at every ingredient and count how many times that ingredient is used. And there was a certain amount. You
did this?
Yeah, I did this. Yeah, so I like.
How many times falernum comes up? How many times is orgeat?
Exactly. So literally, the fundamental idea of it is like, okay, what are our recipes? Okay, mai-tai, jet pilot, Saturn, navy, grog, 3 dots and a dash. Pick your set of recipes. Okay. And then you make a list. You're like, okay, mai-tai. Okay. Lime juice. Add lime juice. Yeah. Orgeat. Add orgeat. Triple sec. Add triple sec. Jamaican rum. Next recipe. Like, lime juice. 2. Okay. Orgeat. 2. Passion fruit syrup. But literally just essentially making a list of every ingredient that was used and how often it was used. And to a certain extent, the challenge was normalizing the ingredients, because one recipe might say triple sec, and one recipe might say orange curacao, one may say dry curacao, one may say Cointreau, but at the end of the day, they're all orange liqueurs. So you're like, okay, where am I grouping recipes or ingredients together? One might say Karuba, one might say dark Jamaican rum, one might say Appleton. Like, okay, all aged Jamaican rums.
Yep.
So there's a certain amount of editorial, like, they're kind of the same idea here, so that you don't end up with, like, a list with hundreds of ingredients. And you're like, oh, there's 9 different aged Jamaican rums, but they're all effectively an aged Jamaican rum. So there's a certain amount of, like, collapsing and expanding to create this list of here are the core ingredients. Here's what gets used the most.
Yeah.
And so I put it into a nice grid of, like, here's all the recipes, here's all the ingredient categories. And then also the other sort of revelation for me, at least, was like every tiki ingredient is in basically one of 5 categories. Think about it. There are juices.
Yeah.
Lime juice, lemon juice, orange juice, grapefruit juice, pineapple juice. There are syrups.
Yep.
Orgeat, falernum, passion fruit syrup, pineapple syrup, cinnamon syrup,
Yep.
simple syrup. There are rums.
Yeah.
That's a category. There are liqueurs and bitters, and I consciously lumped them together, but essentially like infused spirits. So you're thinking like Angostura bitters, falernum is technically a liqueur, chartreuse is a liqueur, all those things that are liqueurs, typically sweetened, but essentially liqueurs.
Yeah.
And then there's also like other base spirits. So the gin recipes, the bourbon recipes, whatever. But everything really kind of fits into those 5 categories. It's, you know, if you think of a drink, Planter's Punch, it's rum, lime, and sugar.
Yeah.
Well, the lime, you know, the lime is a juice. The rum is the rum. It's a spirit. And then the sugar, well, the sugars are where the fun comes in. Because the sugars are like, is it simple syrup? Is it cinnamon syrup? Is it passion fruit syrup? Is it a liqueur that's bringing in fruity flavors but is also sweet? Like, it's the sweet is where we introduce all sorts of, like, the spices and the fruit flavors, all this kind of stuff. Like, the lime is pretty fixed. Like, it's a lime or lemon. Like, there's some amount of sour.
Yep.
Usually lemon or lime, maybe grapefruit, but there's a sour. There is the strong, which is like a rum or or gin or a bourbon or whatever. And the sweet is where the interesting part is. Like, that's where you bring in spices, cinnamon, clove, allspice, things like that, or passion fruit, pineapple, all those things. Like, it's a sweet where you bring in all the sort of the different things that differentiate a mai-tai from a navy grog from a 3 dots and a dash. They all fit into these basic sort of categories.
Wow.
And once you kind of wrap your head around that, you're like, tiki, like all tiki drinks kind of fit within this sort of basic pattern. It is rum, lime, and sugar, but it's like you have a bunch of choices for the sour, you have a bunch of choices for your strong, and you have a bunch of choices for your sweets. And that was sort of like, how do we formalize this and show this to people and get them to wrap their heads around this is the core tiki palette? And for the most part, these drinks are like, pick 1 from column A, 2 from column B, and 3 from column C. So that was the idea of Minimalist Tiki, is like understanding these things and understanding here's the core palette that you need. Like, at the end of the day, like, how do you start making mai-tais, navy grogs, jet pilots, Saturns, 3 dots and a dash, bolo bolos? How do you make those without owning Tiki Bar, without having an entire cornucopia of ingredients? That was the realization.
No, I tell you what, I wish your book would have been around back when I first started getting into making tiki drinks.
Me too.
Because
this was the book I wanted.
Because I'm serious, because I remember, like, you know, getting, like, whatever cocktail book there was, and you're like, I need to get this, I need to get this. And you're seeing, like drinks that have, like, 8, 9, 10 ingredients. And you're like, I don't.
Yeah. Swedish Punch. Well, I guess I need that. And you go off and you buy Swedish Punch. And I love Swedish Punch. But you go out and buy Swedish Punch. It's like, okay, now Swedish Punch. And then it sits on your shelf. It's like nothing else calls for. Cherry Hearing. I love Cherry Hearing. Other than Jason Alexander went through a phase of like everything was cherry hearing in it. But at the end of the day, you're like, I don't really use it that much.
No,
So how do you determine this is the shit I'm going to use day in and day out? You know you're going to use lime juice. You know you're going to use Angostura bitters.
Yep.
You know you're going to use Jamaican rum. You know you're going to use passion fruit syrup. You know you're going to use orgeat. Start with that set that you know you're going to use over and over and over in different permutations and combinations. And then add in the more exotic stuff.
Hey gang, we'll get back to the tiki conversation here in just a second, but I want to let y'all know they have t-shirts for sale. They are screen printed in America. The artist is Tony Canepa, and they're going for $20 a piece, $25 including shipping. If you're interested in buying one, go to my website, tikiwithray.com, and then there's a tab that says buy a t-shirt. Click on there and just follow the prompts. So thank you very much. And let's get back to the tiki conversation now. Orja.
Yes.
Is there any other drinks that use that besides the mai-tai?
There is. There's actually plenty.
Is there really?
Yeah. One of the benefits of the Minimalist Tiki Classic 30 is there's a listing after the grid. We're basically like, for every ingredient that's in the grid, how often is it used? And if I remember correctly, orgeat is used in 8 out of 30 ingredients, which is a fair amount in the grand scheme of things. I mean, I think
wow, all right.
I think like it's in the Saturn, I believe. Unlike the people like Jason, I can't just like, I don't recall the recipes off the top of my head, but it's used a fair amount.
Wow,
it's definitely orgeat is. I mean, it was part of the palette, the early tiki palette. It was it was fancy and exotic, and its creaminess kind of actually helps to like round out sort of like the bitter spice components, whatever. It's a tiki essential. I think it's kind of right up there in the same realm as like passion fruit syrup.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny, when I first saw the name of your book, I thought you were talking more about like tiki environments.
Like what?
I'm like, I don't want a minimalist tiki bar.
Yeah.
And then I realized it was about the cocktails.
Exactly. And there's been a lot of confusion around the name. Like, I posted some funny thing on Instagram. It's like, Minimalist Tiki is not about making sparse 3-ingredient cocktails. It's about the minimal set of ingredients you need to make a lot of different drinks. And so if a recipe calls for barrel-aged banana foam, it's not Minimalist Tiki. If it's something like, it's like, I'd like to think that every Minimalist Tiki drink is something that you could go to any decent bar and they could probably make it. They're going to have lime juice, lemon juice. Yep. They're going to have hopefully they'll have pineapple juice. Hopefully they'll have orgeat. Hopefully they'll have a cinnamon syrup. It's real. Like, you can buy it or you can make it in a short amount of time. It's not something that requires like a 4-day infusion.
Yeah.
Kaffir lime leaf infused, honey nut clover gin. That's just stuff. Like, I'm going to go spend 4 days to make this, and then I'm never going to use it again.
Wow.
I mean, that's what I'm trying to avoid. And I love the bars that do that. And I love, like, there's a bar in London called Lucky Cane, which has these crazy ingredients, and they're delicious, and you're like, I'm never going to make that at home. But I love that somebody is doing this, and I'm going to go celebrate it. But I'm also not going to say, hey, you home bartender, you should go make this drink.
That's incredible. So you reached out to several bartenders.
Over 2 dozen.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you actually have some of their cocktails.
Yeah.
In your book.
Right. Yeah, I would say the goal of the book, one of the goals of the book, one of my goals was to actually get more content for the book. Because I'm like, I want it to be big enough to where it has useful information. And I'm like, well, I need help. Like, I want recipes. And like, I have some of my own recipes, but I'm like, there's a lot of really great bartenders out there.
Yes,
and in particular, like Jason Alexander.
Yeah.
And the term I used for him was modern tiki warrior. Like, he is day in, day out. He's on Instagram. He's got a post. Here's the new rum I got. Here's the recipe I made with it. Here's the crazy garnish. The old days, like, there are posts of Jason Alexander's with like 6 lime shells on fire at multiple levels. Like, it was just crazy stuff. Like, he was just living that life of like just like full metal tiki, and I love that. And
Full metal tiki.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes, and there were other people like him. Like, I saw this like in Justin down at the Diller Room.
Yep.
I saw the people who are just living this thing, and I'm like. The same people get written about over and over and over again. I'm like, and these people, there's no recognition for them. Like, let's let's celebrate them. We're going to bring them in. We're going to not just include their recipes. We're going to give them a full page photo. We're going to give them a biography. We're going to celebrate them. We're going to say, these are people that the next time you write an article about Tiki, go to them. Go ask them about this. Go ask them for the next trend. Go ask them for recipes. Like, here's a whole bunch of other people out there who are not getting the recognition they should, but are really great stuff.
Oh, there's great bartenders across the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Not even just like here, but like over in England.
All over. And you know, and sort of like, we can't include them all, but we're like, okay, how many can we jam into this book? And you know, and to be fair, I gave them all instructions of like, this is what Minimalist Tiki is about. So I'm not asking you to give you necessarily your most insane, crazy recipe. I'm saying, what's the recipe that people can make at home? That I'm not saying you can't use Campari or Mezcal or something like that. I'm saying like here's an opportunity to get your recipe become a modern classic. Here's the way. Like, you put out a good recipe out there, like Zach Overman's Angostura Colada. It's like, people are loving this thing. And you're like, here's an opportunity to get that recipe in front of people. And I hope you'll understand that if you put something insane in it, people aren't going to make it. So
the idea of what your book is trying to say is to give people a basic understanding and be like, oh,
yeah,
I get what's going on here. I can make these drinks.
Yeah.
That it isn't so daunting, and you understand just exactly what you said. Oh, essentially, triple sec contro, curacao, it's kind of the same thing, as opposed to being like thinking that they're all just completely different.
Exactly. There's a certain amount of understanding and categorization, and like, and you know, I won't say it's the primary theme of the book, but the idea of like substitution, of like, there's a cool recipe. I'm interested in that. And I don't have that ingredient, but I know enough to say I can probably substitute something else, and maybe something else I have. So I don't have Cointreau, but I understand enough now to say Grand Marnier.
Yeah.
It's not the exact recipe, but like close enough. I would rather you say I don't have that exact ingredient, but I can get something close, and then go try that recipe, than to say, well, I can't make that until I have the exact set of ingredients.
I think what's awesome is that we're at a point in time. I mean, I guess the craft cocktail movement that started, well, I guess some time ago now, has really pushed people to come to this point where they're like, hey, I want to learn how to make great drinks. Mm-hmm. Dude, I mean, seriously, for a long time, my bar drinking was, you know, give me a gin and tonic. Mm-hmm. Like a martini, you know, just vodka gin martini, nothing, you know. And I think it's great that we're at a point that like people care enough. They're like, no, I want to learn what these tiki drinks are. What I love about tiki drinks or tropical drinks is that they are craft cocktails, unbelievably so.
Absolutely.
I mean, and I think it's great that there are people out there that are like, I want to learn what these are about, because who knows, maybe there might be some home bartender that's like messing around with drinks. And be like, oh wow, hey, I got friends saying to me like, yeah, I like my drinks. Yeah, you should open up a bar. You should open up a bar. And then maybe that person's like, maybe I should. And
I mean, I think people like Blair Reynolds or Blair and Martin Cade, both were home bartenders who were like,
oh my God, yeah.
They were like, shit, I want to do this.
And
I'm never going to do that, but I applaud.
No, I'm not going to open up a tiki bar.
But I absolutely will applaud those who do.
And please do. And because here's the thing, what I notice about tiki is that places aren't going to be around forever. And the older places, the older they get, the sooner that means they're going to shut down sooner than later. The future of tiki is the new bars. And it's one thing to have the decor down, but it's also important to have the drinks down too. Because you can have great decor, but if your drinks aren't very good, no one's going to come.
Exactly. And plenty of bars like that.
So essentially, you're planting seeds with your book.
I'm trying to plant the seeds of getting people to not be afraid of it, to understand it, and the seeds of understanding, and to a certain extent, it's self-serving. Like I have a good recipe as much as the next person. If I can inspire somebody to play around and do something cool, and then they write about their recipe, well, hey, now I have something new to try. It's sort of like it's a very organic community that you don't really see in any other category. Like if you think about like rum, like what is the rum community? And bourbon. What is the bourbon community? And like, what do they do? It's like I have a friend who's like, well, all the bourbon drinkers are lawyers, and all the scotch drinkers are doctors. But the point is like, okay, here's the bourbon community. What do they go do? Like, what are the conventions? Like, what are the bars they go to? It's like, well, they drink bourbon. What about Scotch whiskey? Like, well, they do this. They go to the pubs and they smoke cigars or whatever. That sort of image of a Scotch whiskey drinker is like. What about the rum drinkers? Oh no, there's just a whole tiki community out there. Like the overlap between tiki and rum. Like I think I said in the book, something like if you find like the top 80% of rum collectors in the world with the best insane rum collections, odds are they're wearing a tiki shirt.
Yeah. So where can people buy your book?
They can buy it primarily online from my website.
What's your website?
Which is minimalisttiki.com.
Minimalisttiki.com.
Minimalist Tiki, all one word, no spaces, no anything. Minimalisttiki.com. We sell it ourselves, and that's because we self-publish it.
Self-published?
We've self-published the book, no publisher. It's a 3-pound, 300-page book. Gorgeous photography.
Yeah.
We looked at doing a publisher, and we said, we can do this, but somebody will publish this, but we'll make $1 a book. And we're like, we're going to sell 5,000 copies. It's not worth the amount. Like, we're going to do a kick-ass book, and we want something that we can sell ourselves and like actually make enough money to sustain us and go do the next project and the next project and the next project. So, like, literally every sale means something to us. And, we see it directly, and we printed the books. We spent our own money, like a lot of our own money, to publish those books using the top quality paper, top quality hardcover. Like, everything we did was, like, we wanted to be like, this is going to stand next to great books. And so we put all this effort and all this money into it. We sell it ourselves. We individually stuff every book into an envelope, put it in a box, printer, like we do the entire thing. So it's entirely a homegrown process, and we're incredibly supportive of the people who have, put a leap of faith in us and paid money to buy our book. So we sell it only ourselves primarily, but we also, like our friends at Jason at Tacoma Cabana or the Inferno Room, they're like, hey, we're in the book. Like, we'll sell them cases of books, and then they can resell them. Like, we make money, they make money. We're all about helping everybody, elevate Tiki and make some money and continue to do it. So,
well, there you go. I mean, if that didn't sell you wanting to buy a book, I don't think anything will. Hey gang, this is Tiki with Ray, and I just want to say thank you very much for checking out my video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see more episodes, click on the subscribe button. And if you liked the video, give it a like. That would mean a lot to me. And if you have any comments or suggestions, please leave a comment in the comment section below.